According to federal investigators, Jim Bob Elliott traveled from Aurora to Capitol Hill January 6th armed with a flagstick and shouting a war cry made famous in the movie 300. Prosecutors say Elliott was a member of the violent Northern Illinois Proud Boys, should be kept locked up for the full duration of his 3-year prison sentence and not granted early release as he is requesting. The movie 300 was inspiration for 24-year-old Jim Bob Elliott when he showed up here on Capitol Hill dressed for battle, according to federal prosecutors, wielding an American flag on a pole as a sword-like weapon. Elliott, dressed in black and wearing body armor, a helmet, and silver-spiked gloves, pleading guilty in the flagpole attack on officers, hitting one in the head, they say, while yelling a guttural battle cry from the Spartan-Persia War and heard in the 300 movie. Tonight, the Aurora man has filed this self-written motion claiming he should be released early from his 37-month prison sentence because he had a lot of time to think back and reflect on his actions and honestly regrets the part he played in the riot. And he claims that under new U.S. sentencing policy, he deserves early release because he wasn't violent on January 6th. In their response tonight, prosecutors note Elliott was a member of the violent Illinois Proud Boys and used the flagpole as a jousting lance, transforming it into a dangerous weapon.
How does he justify himself being nonviolent when what he pled guilty to was using a flagpole as a spear, essentially, against Capitol Police?
Well, this is the problem for his argument. It should only disable you from taking advantage of this better rule, this more favorable rule, if you were engaged in some obviously violent act, assault or murder or something like that, and a wooden flagpole doesn't count. But that's not a sure winner for him by any means.
Jim Bob Elliott is on a growing list of January 6th prisoners who are now petitioning the courts to reduce their time in jail based on new U.S. policy that has redefined part of the sentencing guidelines. And an upcoming Supreme Court case challenging the use of obstruction laws in January 6th prosecutions could well open the door wider for prisoners to get out early. A lot of behind-the-scenes mechanics happening in these cases.
Watch breaking news on YouTube. Right. Subscribe to
Hey, well, guess who got out early? Right here, Jim Bob's he's in the house. He got out early.
I survived.
Hey, here's this. All you Downers Grove leftists. This is for you. I bought this at Goodwill for $2.99, and I spray painted it. I swear to God. So we have to boycott Goodwill. Goodwill is like it's ran by Proud Boys and white supremacists.
Oh man, time for a mostly peaceful protest. I think.
So I am proud to have Jim sitting here with me. This young man is only 25 now?
27.
27. You're almost 27. Are you 27?
27.
Okay, he's 27.
I think he's
time
saying
flies. He's been gone for 3 years or something like that. So this young man has twins, young twins. They were like 2.5, 3 years old when he got 3.5 years. So Chuck Gowdy from Chicago is a piece of shit, and that other legal analyst bullshit scumbag. None of those guys knew what happened. He didn't use his flagpole as a spear. He was in the front. I was with Jim, actually. We were at the hotel together. We walked. We'll talk about that. But I know this young man what's wrong? Oh, there he is. Look at that old bastard on the right.
That's still one of my favorite pictures, man.
And there's the spear. There's the spear.
You see how particularly pointy the end of that spear is? Pretty dramatic, isn't it?
Yeah. And then
very pointy, very spear-like.
By the way, mine was aluminum, and I sharpened the edges.
Oh yeah.
And that's a joke, FBI. That's a joke. And just so you know, the reason we were dressed like that had absolutely nothing to do with an insurrection, right? Zero to do with an insurrection.
Nothing.
And this meant zero. This is not a white supremacist. This means zero. This here
or okay in sign language.
Yeah, zero. And it had nothing to do with an insurrection. So for those of you people who watch what happened in November and December, Trump supporters, families, hotels were attacked, beat, by Antifa. Remember?
Yep. December 12th, December 12th in D.C.
Throw that picture back up there, Jason, if you can, right? So, see, there's my old bastard ass. They call me Pops because I was the oldest guy. And I had, back at the hotel, I had a helmet and goggles, right? And we got up at 6:30 in the morning. All of us people met out in front. There's people from Chicago, all over the country. You guys from Illinois, we ran into you guys. And my friend right in the middle there, Rob, see with the Longhorn, that's a Cook County Sheriff. He's got a Cook County Sheriff's hat on, too. But he wanted everyone to know as he went to an insurrection that he's a Cook County Sheriff. I'm being sarcastic, right? And so Rob and I went down there together. Matter of fact, Rob Waller wanted to go there. I was sick on the cancer shit. Remember, I was fighting that. So I went with my buddy, and we met together. And I'm walking with Jim Bob and some of our other buddies there. And we went there just to make sure people weren't going to get beat up. Right? We went early.
That's right.
It had nothing to do with it. I didn't even know we were going to Capitol. It's like, holy shit, that's a long ass walk.
It was wild. There wasn't very much news coverage about it, but if you remember the December 12th thing where Antifa was like they were attacking people in the street and everything
in the hotels,
like that.
remember?
Right out in front of the hotels.
Yep.
I mean, everywhere they saw a MAGA hat, they beat
out
up
there
and rip
They even
snorting.
remember that the father and his daughter, they got around. Remember? That's what
I don't
pissed me
remember
off.
when exactly that
yeah,
was.
but that pissed me off, and I saw
mean, it's
that.
just wild. I mean, I at least have been to rallies, a good handful of them, and every time, I mean, it's mostly the same every time. We're standing on our street corner yelling at them standing on their street corner, and they're standing on their street corner yelling at our street corner.
And you guys were there to protect the Trump supporters, right?
Of course, yeah.
And did you guys ever go to a Democrat event by yourself as Proud Boys to attack Democrats?
Never.
Exactly.
Never.
Do you hear that? Never. Never. Ever, 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 right? So the Democrats were aggressively against the Proud Boys because you know why? Because the Democrats were successful in intimidating and scaring Trump supporters and Republicans, right? They'd show up at events, they get aggressive, they burned America in 2020, right? So the reason that all these Democratic politicians, what's that fat ass guy's name? That one politician, that fat troll? What's his?
Oh, Pritzker?
No,
That's what I was going to say
the little
too.
fat guy
Pritzker.
that wears his pants up all the time.
Oh, Schumer?
No, the little fat troll guy. That little fat piece of shit Jewish guy. Sorry, I swore. So he said,
That's all right.
I don't know
We'll
what
bleep it out in
Antifa
post.
is. What is Antifa? They didn't want people to defend. They didn't want people to defend our people because they were scaring them. My mom wanted to go to Trump's when Trump was running for election in 2016, and I wouldn't let her go because I knew what happened. What happened in Chicago?
It was wild.
So
I mean,
I want
the
to.
whole
So this young man had twins. They were like 2.5, 3 years old when he got 3.5 years in prison.
37 months.
37 months. Okay, yeah, do the
Just
math.
over 3.
Yeah, I was a little off. And you got to do 85% in prison. So
Yeah.
that's what I hear.
Yep, it would have.
Rumor has it.
It would have been cut down to 32 months, and without. I mean, they got like the FSA program and stuff like that, which I was getting because like my charge wasn't a violent charge or anything, even though like.
Wait, you used the spear.
Oh yeah. Yeah. What I had the 111A, which is resisting, impeding, imposing, intimidating, or assaulting an officer. Like that narrows it down. But it wasn't. It really wasn't all that. I mean,
No, it
they basically force your arm into pleading into something that. Even if you don't think you did that thing, I mean, they twist your arm until you say, please stop twisting my arm. And then they throw you in prison.
So I got a real important question for you, right? You and the Proud Boys and the Oath Keepers and the 3%ers. I saw you guys down there.
Yeah.
So you went down there, this is being sarcastic, to overthrow the most powerful country in the whole world and universe ever existed. How many weapons did you guys have? Like,
Oh, all of them, of course.
Right.
Did I ever tell you how I got put on the no-fly list?
Mm-mm.
This is so the government must have heard this story too. So
is this before or after?
This is before.
Okay.
So what ended up happening is I walked into the airport, right, and I'm going through TSA, and I got my hands in my pockets, and they pull me to the side, and all of a sudden they start freaking out, and I'm like, what happened? And they're like, well, we're gonna have to take you into custody for concealing lethal and deadly weapons because my hands were in my pockets.
Really? That was before January 6th?
No, it was a sarcastic story.
Oh, yeah, okay. You got me. I'm like, holy shit, that's a first. So I was there you go. I was labeled a domestic terrorist. I was there with him. We got separated, thank God.
Yeah.
Oh, thank God. I was put, this is what's I am so happy right now that this young man's out. Everybody's out. Enrique's going to be on the show later, just so you guys know. This is being taped the night before our normal because we had to work around Enrique's schedule. There was no absolute zero discussion of taking over the government, prolonging the Biden bullshit ever. Enrique was not even in the city when this happened. So this is bullshit. And I'm so happy for this young guy, and I'm sorry for what him and his wife, his young babies, twin babies. Your wife's younger than you, right, Jim?
No, we're the same age.
Oh, okay. See, my memory's
a
so
little
fucked
bit.
up.
She's a little younger than me,
Yeah.
I guess.
And
July, October,
and
buttons.
Before we get into the bullshit you went through, I mean, I imagine your wife and your mom, having two young twin babies.
Oh man,
with you locked up in jail, it's like you're worried about you and your health and safety, as well as the well-being and the financial need for a father to take care of the children. Tell us a little bit about that because that's important.
Yeah, I mean, it's a father's biblical duty to be there and help raise their kids. I mean, kids need a father in the household. I 100% believe that. And when you take away that for any amount of time, I consider it to be pretty detrimental to the kids. They're still healthy, thankfully. I didn't really have too many major problems while I was gone. A couple little things here and again. My kids are turning 6 next week, so that's
congratulations.
That's cool on the 7th.
Boy, girls, boy, what?
One of each.
Boy, girl. Oh, like us, like
me.
me.
I hit the jackpot.
Like me. That's what I got. Yeah.
You're a boy and a girl?
Yeah, you met my son before. Schomburg. You remember or no? Or one of those days? No?
Oh, I probably.
Yeah,
I'm sure I did. You met I met so many people back then.
Yeah, you met my boy there. He was like 15.
Yeah. Oh man, but I know I'm very blessed. I'm
proud of my boy.
Yeah. There's another one. Oh man, but no, I'm proud of my wife. I'm proud of my mom. I mean, they really really pulled for me. And
twins are so hard. My wife was an angel, by the way. And then I mean, it's like, all that stress. I could imagine what the household was.
It was rough on them. I mean, debatably, it was harder on them than it was for me.
Yeah.
Because all I had to do was sit there and watch the grass grow. They were sitting there making the whole world spinning.
Did they visit you when you were in prison?
They did.
Oh, that's the worst, isn't it?
Honestly, I was grateful to have it because getting to see them. I mean, it's that support, even if it's only temporary.
I stand corrected. It's mixed emotions. You see your mother. My daughter, when I went to federal prison, was 1 month old, and when they had to come.
That came out by itself. I swear to God.
Paul's not here. Paul, you're not here today. This is my partner. Paul, I know you're gonna get pissed when you see that. So anyway, it was mixed. I walked away. I didn't even see my daughter walk for the first time, and it was hard to see my mom and my ex-wife, who I don't give a shit. They found her dead in Kankakee. That's awful. I shouldn't have said that. Bad karma. No, I got cancer. And my daughter, and having were you in MCC at all?
Well, I was held in MCC for like 2 days.
Yeah, well, that's good.
2 days.
It's
yeah,
a fucking
thankfully,
shithole,
it wasn't exactly great. No.
And they came in I just don't bring my daughter here. I don't know if you had visitors.
Yeah.
It was with the glass and bullshit. And it's insulting and to your family for something that we've done, and you were innocent, so I was guilty as fuck.
Yeah,
but to put your family and the twins, and sit there and get a fucking candy bar. Sorry, I swear again. And get a candy bar and shit, right? And you sit there and it's and then you have to see them walk away, and I walk.
Yeah,
I'm talking too much. I'm excited about you being here.
I'm excited to be here. Yeah. This is the first time I'm ever on a podcast before.
You're doing great. He's doing great.
It was like you said, it was a mixed bag. It was entertaining, some parts of it. There was some good mixed in with the bad as well. The biggest thing that I missed was I missed my kids' first day of school. That was hard.
Christmas isn't Christmas hard?
Christmas is rough. I missed 2 Christmases.
I swore again. Sorry.
Yeah, which is
sorry.
Realistically, in the grand scheme of things, 2 Christmases in federal prison
compared to all other guys.
That's a good deal.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? But yeah, I mean those visits. It's easier if you have little milestones, right? Like you got your out date, right? But those little milestones, looking forward to each visit, looking forward to your next team meeting, which is when they like reevaluate you and stuff. And thankfully, I was at a low too, so it was like I was there. They were sitting in a chair across from me. We didn't have the glass screen with the phones or nothing, so it
Can't
was.
kiss your wife. You're not supposed to.
Well, yeah, you know, one quick peck was all I was able to get. Well, officially anyway, but you know, that's.
Well, at least you had Southern white boys, right? Your guards, were your guards? Southern?
Oh yeah. We were.
God.
Yeah, well, yeah. If
it's the other way around, oh my God, they treat you like a.
When I was in MCC. It was
like shit.
The guards hated me. The inmates hated me. I'm thankful I was only there for 2 days. That would have been a little bit rougher time. But Kentucky, I mean,
you're
just good old boys down there. You know what I mean? But I mean,
gotta understand that it's a big difference, man.
Yeah.
They treat white boys like shit when they're the fucking guards. Sorry.
Hey, my mom's watching. But there was probably like 10 guys there. They really made the whole thing possible. I had a fantastic bunkie there watching my back the whole time I was there. Selly, whatever, you know. Yeah, he's a good dude. Shout out to AJ, you know, like but man, they made it. The people inside, they help you laugh your way through it. You know what I mean? Cuz like I said, like 37 months.
What was your hobby in there? Or
reading.
Working out or what?
I did.
What was your job?
Oh, I did landscaping. I worked in commissary for a little bit, and that kind of helped pay the bills a little bit, you know. But for the majority of the time, I was in commissary. When I first got there, I was in landscaping, and then right before I left, I was in landscaping.
You know, you're lucky you got out now because with all these Venezuelans getting locked up, there's going to be a lot of landscapers.
Yeah, I'd have been unemployed.
So let's get back to like. So January 6th, right?
Yeah. Oh, well, I want to say one thing real quick, though. Shout out to my Proud Boys, man. Like, they made it possible. They made it possible that my family was able to come see me. They got my wife groceries when they needed it. They made it happen, man. Like, there's a couple January 6th support groups out there, like the Patriot Mail Project, and a few other people.
Did they send any gifts to your kids at Christmas?
They did.
Oh my God!
The Proud Boys did. The Patriot Mail Project did. I mean,
it's a big deal. People, when you feel helpless inside.
There are some real patriots out there that really deserve a shout out like that.
That's
and like
good,
my Proud Boys, the Patriots and the Patriot Mail Project. I mean, you guys couldn't have done it without you.
Jason, what's the name of the Proud Boys as of today?
Oh, it's the
Methodist.
African Methodist.
This is a joke. You got to look in the news. When you see this tomorrow night, Google it. It's a joke. I mean, it's true, but it's a joke. So let's talk about January 6th, right?
Sure.
We got to do the Enrique thing.
How much time we got?
Well, it's 10 minutes.
Holy shit! All right, so oh my God! So so I'm gonna have him back on, right?
Yeah.
So we have 5 minutes.
Talk
about your the rest when they came to your house. How's that?
Well,
that's whatever you think in the next 5 minutes is the most important thing that people want to hear, and we'll have you back, right?
Well, yeah, okay. So when I was arrested, I was actually picked up at work. I never got a phone call. They fed me twice in 2 days. And so
how many agents came?
The whole goon squad. I was actually driven to MCC it was like 2 FBI guys, but the guys who picked me up at work, they had like the full, like the armored van with the shields and shotguns, like the whole thing. And they're like, "We need to search your car." Yeah, okay, go ahead. You know, I ain't got nothing in there.
Never got a speeding ticket.
Never had a speeding ticket in my life before this. And now all of a sudden I've got like my face is on the hood of my car and they're like, you know, screaming at you, you know. It was just wild. I'm like, what is happening? Well, come to find out, after they drove me to MCC, the whole goon squad went over to my house and they kicked in the doors to my house.
Was your wife and kids home?
Yeah, well, so my wife got there. They tried keeping my wife and my kids separate.
But who was home when they did that? Was anybody home or no?
My mom, a few of my other siblings, and my dad, I think.
Scumbags.
And my kids. My kids were there
too. Oh, the babies were there?
Yep. And they tried keeping my wife and my kids separate, according to my wife. And my wife was like, "That ain't going to happen." So, and I guess she managed to talk him into letting her.
How was the demeanor of the agents that had the most interaction? Were they assholes or were they respectful to you?
to me, on the way to MCC, I mean, they were in the information gathering stage, right? So whether they were actually cordial or just, like they said, well, we probably agree with you on most things politically speaking anyway. But I mean, you're going to turn on me. Yeah, but you're going to turn on me faster than you can say we were just doing our job anyway. So, you're still taking me in whether you agree with me or not. So it's like,
that's bullshit.
Why does it matter?
Yeah.
But I mean, it's the prison system. I mean, I'm sure we're going to talk about it again.
Yeah, we absolutely will.
It's corrupt. I mean, everybody's stealing everything. Guards, inmates. I mean, it's so bad.
Yeah,
bad.
It is.
I mean,
where do you think the drugs come through? I mean, sometimes somebody occasionally sticks a rubber up their ass and brings in drugs, but most of it comes through the guards, especially at the state system. State system more than federal, but both systems, they're very corrupted. The guards are paid off. There's even female guards that are having sex with the inmates. And we'll talk about that at some point in time in the future.
Yeah, well, I never saw any of that personally. Thank the Lord for small favors, but was it was state for you or was it federal?
Both.
Oh, well, there you go. But January 6th, man, I mean, it was not an insurrection. They turned us into whatever.
There was no, and we'll talk with Enrique. You're staying here, right?
Yeah.
We'll talk about it with Enrique, but there was no planned insurrection. Enrique wasn't even there. How much time we got now?
2 minutes.
Oh, we got 2 minutes. Yeah, there was no. I ran into these guys. We walked there together. We walked We walked in to see Trump.
We were at the monument.
You keep talking. I'm gonna text him.
Yeah, I was at the monument before the whole Capitol thing. Standing at the monument, from the monument to the White House, you couldn't even see the grass. Like it was just Patriots and American flag as far as the eye could see. I mean, it was. I mean, man, they weren't actually playing the national anthem, but man, I'll tell you what, you could hear it for sure.
Yeah, you know what's funny is that they after J6, the liberal media, the leftist scumbags said, "Oh, Trump only had a permit for 50,000. There was less than 50,000. There was like 1 million to 2 million people there."
I would say at least 80,000 for sure. I mean, you couldn't even see the grass.
No, there was more than 80,000. So Rob Waller, the cop buddy there, we were arguing. He said 2 million. I said 1 million. So I go 1 to 2 million. I mean, as far as we could see, there was people. Did you ever see that Breitbart video? I'll send that to you. We'll show that on the next time.
So, some of the stuff on there, I really kind of after I got arrested, I just didn't quite have the.
How long was it after J6 you got arrested?
Almost a year.
Wow.
So January 6, 2021 happened. And then it was December 21st of the same year.
Oh, that's right before Christmas.
It was right before Christmas.
I remember that.
They held me the 21st.
I did talk to your wife, too, a little bit.
You did, probably.
Yeah.
They held me. I got out on the night of the 23rd, I think. So I made it home just in time for Christmas Eve.
2 years? Was it 2 years?
We need to do the video.
Do the video. All right, do the video.
Well, you got to introduce.
Oh, sorry. All right, so I wish we had more time because we're under constraints. Now that we're on Patriot TV with General Michael Flynn, I got to keep it under 55 minutes or something like that. So I'm sorry, but we're going to definitely have him back on. Enrique Tarrio is going to come on. His mom was supposed to be on, but since we only have half an hour with him, his mother called me and she said she wants her son to talk about his experiences. So I want to put up this video so people can understand a little bit about what happened to Enrique, and then he's going to be on, hopefully. I don't want to be found guilty.
Yeah.
It's not me.
Yeah. You're just showing support, that's all.
We begin our report with the longest prison sentence so far related to the January 6th attack on the Capitol. The former leader of the extremist group Proud Boys has been sentenced to 22 years in prison. 39-year-old Enrique Tarrio was convicted earlier this year of seditious conspiracy, a rare but serious charge. Since the attack more than 2 years ago, the Justice Department has charged more than 1,100 people in nearly every state. More than 600 have been sentenced in federal court. CBS News congressional correspondent Scott McFarland reports.
The man federal prosecutors called the leader of the conspiracy that led to the January 6th attacks, former Proud Boys leader Enrique Tarrio, stood in court today and asked the judge to show mercy, adding how sorry he was for the events that occurred that day. But Judge Timothy Kelly, who sentenced Tarrio to the longest jail sentence yet for any January 6 defendant, pointed to this text message Tarrio sent after the Capitol had been breached. "Proud of my boys and my country. Don't expletive leave."
The jury agreed with the government that he directed this, that he recruited the individuals who were in place and led the assault on the Capitol with the express intention of preventing the peaceful transfer of power.
Tarrio's attorneys sought leniency, arguing he wasn't at the Capitol that day. Watching from a hotel in Baltimore, a prior arrest had banned him from traveling to D.C. But prosecutors laid out how Tarrio mobilized a group of 200 to march on the Capitol, posting that they would turn out in record numbers that day and responding to President Trump's 2020 debate comment.
"Stand back and stand by."
Tarrio writing, "Standing by, sir." His Proud Boys co-defendants received sentences ranging from 10 to 18 years, one of whom, Dominic Pizzola, shouted "Trump won" in the courtroom moments after his sentencing ended.
And Scott McFarland joins me now. Scott, the judge had some strong words for Tarrio. You were in the courtroom. Tell us what you heard.
The judge called Tarrio the ultimate leader of the conspiracy. Prosecutors tried to make that distinction. He wasn't just a leading figure in the attack, but they say the leading figure among these far-right Proud Boys who were on the front lines. Now, Tarrio wasn't there in Washington, D.C., but the judge nevertheless recognized that Tarrio, in his mind, deserved the longest sentence. It really is, by a large measure, John, the longest sentence. The Oath Keepers founder, Stuart Rhodes, who was convicted of seditious conspiracy, accused of having this arsenal of weapons staged outside the city limits, got 18 years. Tarrio, who wasn't here, got 22. And I think the judge acknowledged, John, he mobilized people, a mass of people that ended up being so very dangerous that day.
And Scott, put this, we've mentioned this is the longest sentence related to the Capitol riot, but put this in the larger context of how significant this was for the Justice Department and the much larger effort to prosecute all the participants who attacked the Capitol on the 6th.
Unequivocally, this is a high watermark for the Department of Justice, not just because of the length of the prison sentence, but because of the profile of the defendant. I've been to hundreds of these January 6 hearings. I have never seen a crowd this big inside the courthouse and outside the courthouse for one singular hearing. Enrique Tarrio has a mass following. It includes supporters and detractors. There are a lot of people waiting for this sentence in particular. I think the Department of Justice can use this sentence to amplify this message of deterrence they're trying to send, that this can't happen again. 22 years sends a message, and a message that is properly timed, John, as we are now just more than a year away from the next election.
Yes, indeed. Scott McFarland, Washington, D.C.
All right, so I am proud to announce my next guest. I'm proud.
There you go.
So we have Enrique Tarrio, the president of the Proud Boys. He is the president of the Proud Boys. He was the president of the Proud Boys. And sitting in for my normal co-host, Paul Drabeck, is Jim Bob, another Proud Boy that unfortunately was a political prisoner like Enrique. I was very fortunate.
We prefer the term hostages.
Yeah, I was just a domestic terrorist. So thank God I didn't go to prison. I'm so lucky that I was only a domestic terrorist. So I don't even deserve to be in the same realm of these guys. But I'm very honored.
I mean, you would have gotten the title of domestic terrorist anyways.
Yeah.
I mean, you're wearing a fuck Antifa shirt,
Yeah.
so that's good enough for
You
me.
see my shirt?
Come on.
We know all our enemies are watching us right now. I had to wear this, right? And I had to buy this at Goodwill. I bought it for $2.99. So I think we have to start boycotting Goodwill. So Enrique, thank you very much for coming on. I know we have 30 minutes. We might have more time. And there's a lot of things that I want to cover, and whatever we could cover in this 30 minutes, great. We'll have you back on, right? But I'd like to think about the Proud Boys. I know they're not racist. They're not. Well, you're African American. I think our president. Your president. Your president was Hispanic, right?
For a while.
And so it's hard to say that you're racist against African Americans or your president.
Right.
Your president was racist against Mexicans.
As long as you love the country.
Yeah, that's one thing I wanted to call out there. another thing, because we played a little intro before you got on here, Enrique, about the background. You weren't even in Washington, D.C., and we'll talk about that. And you got 22 years in prison. I mean, and then they talk about the church and, there's anti-gay. I mean, you guys had like a gay guy that I was told about before that was in the chapter a long time ago.
Yeah,
They're not anti-woman. All this stuff, everything they said about you is not true. And I don't know. I want you to talk. I mean, I just want you to have a voice to share the bullshit being a political prisoner, what you went through in there, how happy you are to be out, how it affected your mom, and whatever we could get in 30 minutes. So go ahead. The floor is yours.
Of course.
The floor is yours.
So, I mean, let's start with this. I hate identity politics, but I also hate where they try to use identity politics against us, right? Obviously, if you have a Proud Boy chapter in like Nebraska or Kentucky, obviously you're going to have a high white population, right? But when you get into like Miami, for example, is my chapter, the Villain City chapter, you got 90% Cuban, and we got our token white guys, right? Which I think is a whole 2 guys.
Wait, that was racist. That was racist, but go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, sorry.
DEI Proud Boys. DIE.
I'm actually, I am also the DEI director of the Proud Boys now. I don't know if you guys have heard, but yeah, we don't give a shit what your race is, religion, background. It's about values at the end of the day, right? And we get this bad rap because we go on the streets and these little Antifa and BLM fucks, right? They go ahead and they attack Trump supporters, and we don't allow that shit if we're there. It's just not going to happen on our watch. Yeah. And then automatically, the news has something, right? And they hold on to it for dear life. They're like, well, these people are like the guy's literally has a brick in his hand, throwing it at Trump supporters. They're like, well, that guy's anti-fascist. So the guy that attacked him, that means he's fascist.
Yes.
And then the people who attack BLM, which sometimes are, older white Karens. So, sorry for being racist again. Like suddenly you're racist against blacks. So it's retarded. It's stupid.
I got a question for you. I asked the exact same question to Jim Bob about, because we did a cold lead in for him, and they said he was part of the violent Proud Boys, right? It says about the whole Proud Boys in the country in your chapter. I'd like you to tell me, how many times did you guys go to a Democratic event just to go there and attack Democrats? Tell me about that.
So we don't go to other people's events.
Exactly.
Right? We don't protest. I think protesting, actually the word is counter-protesting group is super gay, right? And I don't mean it in a homophobe way.
Yes. Oh, no, you're in trouble now.
Yeah, here we go. Being a racist, homophobe. I'm going for misogynist next. But, that's not something that we do, You want to throw your party? We don't care. But the problem comes in when we throw parties, and our parties are so cool that they want to come disrupt our parties. And that's where the problems start. I remember during the Summer of Love of 2020 when BLM was burning everything down, fiery but peaceful. Yeah. I remember because as the chairman at the time, I don't have executive power over the guys. I can't tell them what to do, And if you've been a Proud Boy for a while, you kind of know that if I were to tell the guys to do something, they'd be like, "We're not doing that." And if I tell somebody, "Hey, you got to kick this guy out," they're gonna go send me to go kick rocks. But regardless of the fact, during the Summer of Love, I did kind of put out a message to the guys. I'm like, "Hey, look, I don't think that we should protest. Just in case you guys are thinking about it, I don't think we should protest these things. It's pointless to even go." I didn't even need to say that because the guys weren't doing it, but I was just doing it precautionary. Don't show up at these places because it's all it's going to do is bring trouble, and we don't want no trouble, right? So, like you said, we don't go counter protest anything. That's not a thing. If you're a drag queen and you're showing your tits, your dude tits to some little kids, we're gonna go protest, right?
Same one here.
And they're like, well, the Proud Boys are an anti-gay group, anti-gay hate group. No, we don't go. Like, you're not going to catch Proud Boys outside of a gay bar.
Can you see
There you
this?
go, perfect.
See this, brother? This showed up at my school board meetings. I had to cleanse it so we could show it exactly.
Oh, I thought that was a meme.
No, this is my kids'
Like,
book.
that's for like kids to read.
This is my kids' books. This was I became national news like 3 years ago. I got 6 posters. This is a girl wanting to be a boy. And so I covered it. That's a strap on. That's a boy with an earring wanting to be a girl performing oral sex in my children's books.
So what's crazy is you just pulled that out of nowhere. So I thought like you had a poster of a meme. And like before the show, I
use
asked
this all the time. I use this to go against the leftists. So before
well, here's the thing. When you pulled the poster out right now, like I thought it was a meme, like you guys just have like a meme poster so you can like show people. And then before the show started, I asked you, I'm like, hey, can I cuss in here? It's like, yeah, you can kind of cuss or whatever. And I'm like, wow, he's pulling out this crazy meme of like sucking dicks and shit, right?
Yeah, right. No, it's in our kids' books.
You just told me that it's so I didn't think it was safe for this platform that you're on, but it's a children's book. Yes. So it goes beyond the platform. Like they're giving it to little kids. So that's something that we've always, I think, Proud Boys is not like, it's not a political thing. It's more of a cultural thing, right?
It's a good versus evil.
We understand that shit like that is not cool, right? So we fight against it, you know, and we do it by either protesting, disrupting, or in some cases, we get elected, right? Mm-hmm. Locally down here, I've been pushing the guys, even before my incarceration, pushing the guys to get elected locally. We've been very successful in doing so. So successful that the left is very scared. And obviously we saw how one of the biggest cities in the country, Miami, Florida, flipped red. It's the last major United States city that has turned from blue to red. Now, hopefully that happens across the country, but I don't know.
Yeah, hey, Enrique, this is the second time we spoke. Just so you know, I'm an elected committeeman here in the state of Illinois. I'm elected. Yeah. I got elected as a committeeman.
Well, I mean, and it just goes to show, like when stuff just needs to get done, men put their boots on. And Democrats take their boots off and go hide in the closet.
Yes, yes, sir. So
I'm surprised they even have boots.
Yeah.
Well, you know, that's the best way to hide a Constitution. Just put it under a pair of Democrat work boots.
Yeah.
They'll never pick it up.
Hey, can I ask you a question? So you got
no.
Oh, okay. Well, all right then.
I'm kidding. Go ahead.
Nice Southern kid here.
So you got sentenced to like over 20 years, right?
Yes.
I was held in Kentucky. I got 37 months for January 6th, right? And man, leading up to the election, I was freaking out, right? And I only had 37 months to worry about.
Yeah.
I was freaking out leading up to the election. I'm like, is it going to happen? Is it not going to happen? And then it happened again on January 20th. Like, is he actually going to do what he said he's going to do? Am I just, like, is my faith well placed? Is it going to happen? Is it not going to happen? My wife and mom were certain it was going to happen. But, when you're in there, it's not as certain. How were you feeling during all of that?
So what's crazy is probably like the time that I was the most anxious was the last 4 months before election, because what ended up happening is that they put me in the shoe.
Oh,
right?
really?
Jeez.
Oh.
So in the shoe, right, you don't get any news. And the last thing I saw was Kamala Harris jumped in the race. And, the polls, and I know the polls are always wrong.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But the polls did have her leading. And, like in the back of your head, you're like, what if the polls got it right this time?
Right.
You start thinking that because obviously I'm alone in there, and you have a lot of time to think. So it was, I'd say, I was extremely anxious, and luckily I got a hold of my mom, and I'm like, hey, can you send me like voter registration numbers for the 7 battleground states? And it came in to one of the prisons I was at probably about like 3 weeks before election. And when I saw those numbers, I already felt good, because I knew it was almost mathematically impossible for her to win. So a big shout out to those people that brought out the vote, and those those voter registration. I know there's a lot of people that need things for that because those are the actual heroes because they were the door knockers and they gave us our life back. And there's no such thing. There's no such thing as short time. So 36 months, 4 months, 22 years. Yeah, obviously, but there's no such thing as short time. You know, I did I think it was like 4.5 months into DC Gulag for burning that Black Lives Matter banner.
You damn racist.
I was actually locked up with somebody that you were in the DC jail with for a long time.
There you go.
Yeah.
So I'll tell you what, those 4.5 months felt longer than the 3 years that I did.
Yes. So I got a question for you. Explain. So I did, I did 6 months in the hole across a couple different prisons, but back to back, and they transferred me to put me in different holes. Tell people, I want you to tell them what it's like to be in the hole and how long it is between breakfast, lunch, and dinner. When you're in the hole alone, it seems like a lifetime, especially in your situation.
Yeah, so I was transferred to over 40 different prisons over the course of about 3 years.
Wow, that's awful. You get the diesel, what they call diesel, some bullshit.
It's called diesel therapy, and then the legal policy term by the BOP is called administrative transfer, right? And it's a thing. Did
they keep you in the black box?
And they did me, they just, for your viewers, you guys should go ahead and Google what a black box is. It looks like a medieval torture device. You're like chained up to like the
it's
your
handcuffs
stomach.
within a handcuff.
It's like thumb screws.
You can't even eat a sandwich.
Move. Yeah.
So if I wasn't in the shoe, I was in transit.
Did you were you on Con Air too?
Yeah, I was. I think I rode Con Air about 3 or 4 times. I also flew commercial.
Oh, did you? Oh, that's nice. That's because you're special.
that was a pre-conviction because I was allowed to do that pre-conviction through the marshals. Yeah. So, and it was actually funny as shit because they put this sweatshirt on you that has like the front pockets of the sweatshirt, kind of, but it has a flap so you can keep your handcuffs on. But it looks like you have your hands in your pocket, but you still have the stomach chain. So if you pull up the sweatshirt, the chains start hanging. So we're the last ones to board the plane.
Oh my God, you have to go.
And just to be a dick, I kind of like pulled up my shirt, right? so like the passengers see the chains, and they kind of like opened their eyes, and there was this one older lady that was like, "Nah, I'm not riding here," and she got off the plane.
Well, on the plus side, it's harder to sneak things into the plane in handcuffs. So I think you weren't. It's not like you were walking in with a briefcase or anything.
Yeah. But so I was transferred around.
And another thing, Enrique, sorry,
I was treated like shit. But
another punishment of being transferred around, right? So like when you get to a facility, you get your commissary and some of the nicer things. And I'm being somewhat sarcastic, people. Mm-hmm. So when you get transferred around, you don't get to have your commissary and stuff catch up with you to help make that time a little, right? I mean, right?
Yeah. So another difficulty was moving. So you never know when you're going to move, but commissary's coming, So there's a lot of times that I ordered commissary, and like as soon as I got it, they're like, "Hey, pack up your stuff. You're leaving." And I'm like, "Shit."
They don't tell you.
And you,
they just
and you can't take it with you.
Yeah.
It's not like, "Oh, let's pack a bag and take it with you." No, you got to give it away or throw it out. Yep. One or the other. Or send it back home. Which I think is the stupidest idea in the world. Like, what am I going to send? Like, you want me to send 10 packs of ramen noodles?
Oh my God, I'm never eating ramen noodles ever.
Yeah, I'm not touching. My chick actually today was like, "Oh, what do you want to eat or whatever?" And I'm like, "Look, you know what? Whatever you want to eat."
Yeah.
And she's like, "Oh, there's this great ramen place in the corner." I'm like, fuck you.
Right.
We're not doing that. But yeah, I mean, it's annoying because some of these places just don't feed you. The last 4 months, going back to the anxiety thing, the last 4 months, I didn't eat properly. Sometimes I didn't shower. I lost 40 pounds, even though there was a time in the DC Gulag when I was in the Patriot Pod, I did gain about like 15, 20 pounds. So I lost, I guess, net. I lost 20 pounds, but I lost a whole 40 pounds in 4 months.
I got a question because you're a mixed race person, right?
Mm-hmm.
I know, like my personal experience is like if you go somewhere where it's like in the Chicago, right, and the MCC, the African American guys treat white guys like shit.
Yeah.
Because you were a J6er, it doesn't not matter if it was an African American guard or white. Did they all treat you like shit, or how? Tell me how that experience was.
So I think I separated it into two categories, and it's inmates and COs, right? So for the most part, if we're in like a red state, COs were great. You know, they.
It's a correctional.
I'm not going to
officer
say they're
cooks.
great, but
Yeah,
they were professional,
yeah.
right?
I felt like a zoo animal.
Yeah. So, well, at USP Atlanta,
Oh
which
my
is
God,
where they.
that's a shithole. I was there.
Yeah.
A shithole.
Yeah.
I was next to old Al Capone's cell that was in there.
Yep.
And we had to throw
It's-
toilet paper to keep the vents from. It was real cold. Did you have that too? We had to
Well, we
throw
still
wet
do that.
toilet paper. Yeah.
We still did that, yeah. At Atlanta USP, you know, obviously it's in Atlanta, the Blueberry in Georgia, and you know, COs there are real pieces of shit. They're real like pieces of work. They don't care. They'll beat the shit out of you if you like even ask for something. I saw there's no emergency buttons there. I saw a man die of a heart attack, and he was laying in there for about 4 hours before somebody came and picked him up. You know, so it depends. And then as far as inmates go, you know, I'm going to go with the topic that you said after, but for the most part, they love J6ers, right? Because fairly or unfairly, they feel like the government fucked them one way or another,
Good.
right?
I mean,
So either they feel like they're guilty, but they got screwed somehow, or they're not guilty, or they feel like they're not guilty and they screwed them somehow, or they're actually not guilty and they screwed them somehow. So they're like, well, these guys attacked the Capitol, which is the people that put us in here to begin with. So thumbs up. Now, as far as the race thing in prison, for me, it was really confusing because like, and I guess it was kind of a benefit because I can't roll with the white guys, right? Although some of them let me roll with them. I can't roll with the black guys, although some of them would let me roll with them.
I'd rather hear you explain it, how segregated it is. You know, from your words. I mean, it's very segregated.
It's wild.
Yeah.
So segregation in prison is real.
Normal.
There's a white TV and you can't watch the white TV. You can't change the white TV if you're any other race. The same thing with like the black TV, the Latino TV, the Paisa TV. You know, there's different categories on it. But for the most part, everybody kind of gets along, but they have their own cars. So as I fucking hate using this, but mixed race person, you know, I don't fit in a box, right? So most people are accepting, like I could kind of join any car I want, but I didn't want to join a car. You know, that my last spot in Pollock, Louisiana, you can't roll Solano, which is you can't roll without being in a fucking in a car. And a car is kind of like there's prison gangs and there's like the little crews. So I had to jump in the Caribbean car, and a week later, the head of that car, the rep of that car left, and I became the head of the Caribbean car for 2 months. So my headphone volume was a little high. So it's very segregated. So it's very confusing as a Afro-Cuban to kind of fit in a box. But I'll tell you, I never had a problem. With inmates, I never had a problem.
That's good. That's good. Like, well, it's funny. I'm Italian. I'm only half Italian, but I look Hispanic. And like when in the federal system, all the
you look Cuban.
All the Hispanic guards would speak to me Spanish. I'm like, what? I barely speak English, buddy. Let alone Spanish.
It's easy to tell because he's got like this motion going on, like. Mama, boopity boopity boppity
boopity 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 boop. There we go, fucking racist again. Dude. Here we go. Like we're on a roll here.
It's Chicago. There's a lot of Italians. What are you gonna do?
So like, you know, what really pisses me off. You guys were definitely political. All of us. You know, I wasn't a prisoner, but I was targeted. My family was put on the Quad S's list. Enrique, my mom, my wife, and daughter, and children. And so this is like we live in Russia and stuff. Especially you. And you going away from your families and stuff, and I hope this never happens again. And I know like so many of these leftists in the country think that you guys, all of us are evil just for being there, just for being at January 6th.
Hell, just for being a Trump supporter. For you know what I mean? It's just like I can't tell you how many friends I lost in 2016 over it. I mean, when January 6th happened, it's like
I was, I was called a traitor. I didn't even like. I was there. I was there right to the barrier, the last barrier on the west side where the cops were fighting and stuff. I never hit anybody. I never yelled. You weren't even in D.C. That's what pisses me off. You were.
I'm
never
the only
even
one that
there,
wasn't in DC out of
right?
I always say two things. I'm the only January 6th poser, right?
Yeah.
And it's funny because I was in the DC gulag and we congregate in groups and we're just talking and there's everybody saying stories. No, I was in there and it was in Nancy Pelosi's desk. And the other guy's like, oh no, I was in the Senate chamber. I was hanging off the side of the balcony, man, and I took some pictures. And I'm just sitting there with my fucking arms crossed. I'm like, damn, I don't have any of these fucking cool stories.
Yeah, because we did a cold opening. Some prick, I don't know who it was, saying about you planned it, you orchestrated it. I was at the Marriott with all you guys, right? And with my police officer friend, he just retired. There was never, ever a mention of insurrection. I didn't even know we were walking at a Capitol, till like that. I'm like, oh, fuck, that's a long walk. It's like, we're out in front. It's like there was no plan. And another thing that amazes me, when I argue with people, right? You look back at November and December, and you were there, right? Antifa was everywhere. They were throwing tables over, trying to get in hotels. December, I think a guy was stabbed. 4 people. Black Lives Matter. Antifa was everywhere, right?
Are you talking about? I'm sorry, you said December 12th.
Before J6 or November. It was in November, December, right? Both those.
It was 4 peeps.
Yeah, and so Antifa was everywhere, and the whole country saw that. So okay, any of you have common sense? All of a sudden, January 6th, Antifa was nowhere. They were nowhere.
Suspicious, wasn't it?
Nowhere. So where were they? Were they hiding for some reason? I'm being sarcastic, Enrique, right?
Well, no, actually, they were hiding.
Yeah,
right?
With Trump hats.
And this isn't a conspiracy theory. I don't know if you know what our OSS team did with Mr. I think his name is Jake Sullivan. One of the Sullivan brothers, the BLM dude.
Yeah.
So we infiltrated one of their chats, right? And it was an Antifa chat, and all of them were talking about dressing as Trump supporters. And this isn't, again, I won't believe in something unless I see hard facts. It's difficult for me to talk about things unless I have hard facts. And we have we have all their communications, and their plans were to dress as Trump supporters, and they posted pictures of themselves with their Trump gear
that
they actually bought right there next to the White House.
Yeah, right. Some of them turn their hats backwards to identify each other because they're from different chapters as well. Correct?
Yeah.
I want to know how many of them got arrested.
Yeah. As a matter of fact, within that group of, I think there was 20 participants in that group chat, and only one of them got arrested. And the only reason why that one got arrested is because he's very, very well known on YouTube. And I don't think they had another choice but to do it to kind of make it seem even. But the other 19, they never got picked up.
Yeah, shocker.
So I got to, so I was with my sheriff buddy, right? He just retired. And we were behind, and I got the same video that went viral. I was almost exactly of Ray Epps, right? So, do you got to go on Greg Kelly's show? If you got to, just let us know.
I haven't got a message.
Okay.
So
yeah. So and don't worry if you have to.
So we're in the Terry Newsom show right now.
Yeah. So don't worry.
I'm not worried about that.
Yeah. And so we were behind. I got the video. I sent you the one video that guy that we were behind Ray Epps, right? And we saw me and my friend Robin. I'm like, in the middle of all this stuff, I saw Epps. I'm like, wow, you kind of know, that guy doesn't look like Antifa, but he's up to something. I don't know what the hell. And he's whispering to this young kid, right? And I was like, why are you whispering in the middle of this riot or whatever it is, right? And so on the way home, I sent that video to Ben Bradley, WGN reporter, a Democrat, liberal, who I know. He reported on other stuff in Chicago. I got a timestamp, January 11th, before anyone knew who Ray Epps was, right? Anybody. He gets back to me. Oh, these are all Trump folks, right? And then all of a sudden, when the thing came out, it's like when they were looking for Ray Epps, I sent him the same screenshot. I go, that's the guy I just sent it to you. We didn't know who he was. Then it came out was Ray Epps. The media didn't want to report any of that stuff. None of that stuff.
If you really want to take a look at how these cases are prosecuted and how unjust they were, and just let's pretend for a second, because I like playing the pretend game. Let's pretend that Ray Epps wasn't a Fed, right?
Right.
Ray Epps, the night before, and I'm sure you've seen the video millions of times, he's chanting to storm the Capitol, and he did more than I did.
Yeah, you beat me to it. Yes.
He did more than I did.
Yeah.
Right? Like, their evidence against me was really two things. Their entire 6 months of presentation really broke down to two things. Right? Number one, on January 6th, at about 2:37 p.m., I posted on social media, and I told everybody, don't fucking leave. I posted on social media. It wasn't like a secret, thing to the Proud Boys. It wasn't a secret thing to like the group. I'm watching this shit on TV, and I'm like, it's like my team just won the Super Bowl, right? If there was a charge about celebrating, a protest, fuck, guilty.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And I continued to celebrate it like half of America did. And the second piece of evidence is, I think, the most damning. I'm sorry, I'm getting a cold right now. The second piece of evidence is a document that was sent to me that's called 1776 Returns. And it sounds ominous, but when you actually read through this fucking bullshit, it's instructions on how to do a sit-in. And simply by that, I should have been exonerated, because there is no way in hell any Proud Boy is going to do some gay-ass sit-in. Okay?
Right.
That's just never going to happen. I'm not going to get these big dudes and like lock arms like kumbaya and sit till a bunch of cops beat our ass. I'm never going to do
the
that.
bicycle barricades. Fight
Yeah.
power.
Exactly. Like, it's just never happening. So just on the basis alone, I should have been exonerated from that. But there's a step further. The document was sent to me, and it was never opened.
Wow.
Right? So, like, if you don't open the document, and it was showed, because the forensics showed that I never opened the document.
Yeah.
So imagine you got an email from, like, I don't know, fucking Osama bin Laden. Right? And you never saw it. And then here comes the government, put some handcuffs on you. There it goes. Get in the freaking car, you stinking terrorist, and then puts you away for life. Right?
Yeah.
So Ray Epps did, if the bar for the Biden DOJ was celebrate J6, then if I was charged with sedition, he should be charged with treason.
Absolutely.
You get me? Like, that's if that's the low bar that you set.
Yeah.
Okay, but like, let's take out the fact that I just said that if he wasn't a Fed, because I don't want to keep that there, because I truly believe that the guy's a Fed.
Absolutely.
I get called a Fed all the time for retarded reasons. And in his case, I mean, it's pretty obvious.
He definitely wasn't Antifa.
Yeah.
So you got hit with like some sort of conspiracy something, right? Can I ask that or no?
So, yes. So I got hit with seditious conspiracy, and just so you guys know what seditious conspiracy is, it is one step under treason. There wasn't when it was originally. This is an old like British like Magna Carta fucking age shit. They needed to process crimes for attempted treason, right? So they needed something a step lower, which is sedition, which is attempting to overthrow the monarchy or the government at the time. So the sedition charge was, the specific statute was created after the Civil War to kind of punish the rebel states and the rebel soldiers and shit like that, to have something to work. It never worked because they never used it, but they kind of like left it in the dust in the back of a library. And when the Capitol was breached, they're like, we need to find something serious to charge these people with. And actually, the first person to call on people to get charged with sedition was Joe Biden. He did it on Twitter. And I think that Merrick Garland was like, I need to, I already, like, he's wiping his mouth and like kind of like putting Neosporin on his knees, and he's like, I need to help my friend. And he charged not only me, but I think it was like 14 other individuals with sedition, right? Which is a very serious crime in itself, but it's a very tricky crime too, because the act of sedition is what I told you, attempting to overthrow the U.S. government. But when you actually read what the charge is, the bar is so much lower. The bar for that, how they use it is, it's an obstruction charge. You're stopping the execution of any law in the United States from being executed by the attempt of use of force, right? So in our case, the way that they charge that is Ethan moved a bike rack, right?
Lord forbid.
He didn't break a fence or anything.
Gasp.
He moved a bike rack, and he allegedly, to them, attempted to stop the 12th Amendment from being processed, which was not even what was happening that day, but I'll let that slide. So that was the force being used for a political objective. That's also terrorism, and that's how they gave us a terrorism enhancement.
So it was like, where does the conspiracy part come in? Like somebody just said you did it? Did the government just, like, where did, what? I'm not quite sure what conspiracy means. Like, I heard it a lot when I was in prison, but like, what does that entail?
So it entails, if example, like if Jim, if me and you were to get on the phone and go, hey, we want to rob a bank.
One of my grenades fell off my vest from J6. They're fake.
Yeah,
These are fake, guys. I bought them at the surplus store.
Is your name Jeremy Brown?
They're fake. Just, they're fake. All right. Sorry. All right.
So, Jim, if I were to call you and tell you, hey, let's go rob a bank, and then we kind of plan it, right? And then one of us were to take one action to further that crime, that is a conspiracy. Meaning, if we talk about it and then you go buy, I don't know, you go buy a flathead screwdriver so you could break into a car, that's it. You might as well go over there and finish robbing the bank, because you're going to get charged exactly like you robbed the bank. It's the most crappy law in the world, especially like for like the new age of the internet, where and men specifically too, because we banter with each other a lot, and anything can be a conspiracy. You could literally get put in prison for anything.
Oh, they use it against Italians in Chicago all the time.
Yeah. And what's crazy is you could literally indict a ham sandwich, so you could literally put any law together. We weren't charged with violence.
Mm-hmm.
There was no violence in our case whatsoever. We weren't even like indicted with anything violent occurring. So we were pretty much a violentless crime, and we got more than the maximum sentence, because the maximum sentence was technically 20 years.
Yeah, and so wasn't like the whole plan all along to take over the most powerful country in the universe, in the world of the history of man, with a flagpole and a camera?
Well, and yeah, like I was about
being
to,
sarcastic.
I was about to say that. Like what conspiracy? Like, I've been a Proud Boy since like 2017. This is the first time I've had words.
Oh, you're an OG.
Yeah, like this is the first time. Maybe it was 2018. It was somewhere around there, right after the 2020 election. But this is the first time I've actually talked to you. So, like, what did you organize? Nothing. There's nothing there.
Well, you want me to tell you what the exact plan for January 6th was?
Huh.
Oh, man. Here we
go. We're getting a look behind the curtain now.
All right. So here we go. This is going to be like one of those Wizard of Oz curtains where you think it's like this giant dude. It's just like some old fucking nerd.
Hey, can I say something before you say that? And I don't know if I'm right or not. Like,
go ahead.
My understanding is that, like, the Oath Keepers, the 3%ers, and the Proud Boys, I'm hearing that they were down there, and then Antifa wants to come and beat up people and stuff, and there was an attempt to try to package them and sandwich them in between the multiple groups. Is that true or no?
That they were trying. I'm sorry, I didn't follow.
Get Antifa to box Antifa in when they came out at night to try to harass and attack Trump supporters, and have support from the other organizations, not just the Proud Boys by themselves, because Antifa in November, December had lots of people. Is that so? Go ahead.
So I'll tell you specifically before January. I usually don't. I don't work well with other groups. I don't like coordinating with other groups because the problem is there's too many variables there. So I just like doing our stuff whenever we go and kind of like not worrying about anybody else. Specifically for January 6th, the plan, we did have a schedule, right? So the schedule was, I think, wake up at 8 o'clock in the morning, go to Harry's. Sorry. Go to Harry's and go have breakfast at Harriet's, which is next door to Harry's. And go to the Ellipse at like about 9:30 because we knew it was going to be jam-packed. And we were going to finish watching the president speak. I was supposed to speak on a stage at 1:30 p.m., which was on the other side of the Washington Monument. And then at another stage at 2, I believe it was like 2:10, a permitted rally with the stage that was in front of the Capitol, right? And then we were supposed to be back in Virginia by 2:45 because we had the lead singer of the Misfits, Michael Graves, was going to do like a little unplugged session in Ethan's Airbnb. So we were going to go party there. So I don't understand. I mean, I know the prosecutors knew we didn't do anything wrong.
Right.
They just didn't give a shit. They needed to make a story. So what were they? What was the plan? Like, I was going to overthrow the U.S. government, and then like
By standing on a stage.
less than an hour later, I was going to go, to a hotel room to listen to music.
They had to have those communications, right?
Yeah, they had the communications. They just here's the fucking crazier part about this whole thing is they didn't let us use a lot of them.
Oh, I got like thousands of hours of footage of people that weren't even me though, but like, you got this string of text messages that say, this is what I'm planning on doing, this is where I'm going, this is where I am, and all of it is nothing to do with the Capitol building. None of that matters. But this dude on this video who's not even me, related to me, or has anything to do with me, that's in my discovery. It makes no sense. Like, they just picked and chose. Like, none of us were co-defendants either, really. Like, there was a few cases where some people were co-defendants, but, like, what each of us did reflected on the other J6ers, but it didn't actually have anything to do with the case. Like, my case didn't have anything to do with your case, right? But what I did reflected on you because you were at the Capitol, right?
Yeah.
But none of us are co-defendants. So why does what you did reflect on what I did? It makes no sense.
So what the government alleged in our case, everybody that was, as it comes to our case, everybody that was there was considered our tool, right? So, and it was the first time the U.S. government does this in a case. They said that we, instead of a crowbar to break into the Capitol, we used the crowd as our crowbar to break into the Capitol.
Really?
What we did is that we...
Was that really? Or
yeah, it sounds so fucking cool.
Is that an analogy you're making up, or is that... Like,
no, that's exactly what they presented.
Wow.
Right.
Well, in the Proud Boys tenets, it says we are professional rabble-rousers, of course. That's...
yeah. I mean, Jesus Christ. It sounds cool as shit, but like, they made it sound so cool. I gotta go back to that. They made it sound so cool. Like, I was like Professor X, and I'm sitting in Baltimore with no phone, by the way, because they took my phone because I burned that stupid ass banner, right? So they took my phone from me. So I'm sitting in a hotel room with no phone, and I literally I call room service from the thing, and I'm like, hey, can you guys please bring me a wheelchair? And I sat in a wheelchair and I did this. And I made the entire crowd commit an act of treason. And it's wild to me that
there's an X-Men reference.
Yeah.
Who don't,
so
don't get it.
Yeah. If you didn't get the reference, I was Professor fucking X.
Yeah.
You know what
Don't
I'm
worry,
saying?
I'm a nerd. I get it.
And I'm bald enough to get that done.
Man, look at my hair graph. Save my ass. Look at that shit, man. It's all hair graph right there, brother.
Oh my god.
I'm probably the only one who came out of prison with more hair than I went in with.
Oh, you guys are gonna love this story.
Oh no, you didn't. You didn't. But with that hair, it's definitely not on my head.
You guys, when I was in Estill, South Carolina,
I look like I got a fucking mohawk down there.
You guys, when I was in Estill, South Carolina, guys are smuggling drugs and stuff. Guess what I fucking smuggled in? Rogaine.
Oh my god!
I swear to God. I said I paid to smuggle in Rogaine into still South Carolina federal prison.
So here, I'll admit something on your show, and this is exclusive fucking content here. I was droning things into the prison. No drugs or anything.
Wow.
Yeah, I did like cell phones and tobacco, right?
Yeah.
And I got a weird, like this cartel dude like wanted me to bring in like soccer cleats. So we brought in soccer cleats. So that was weird. But the weirder thing is there was a huge want for Ozempic.
Really?
Yeah.
They couldn't work out. They're sitting in prison.
So in prison, I was an Ozempic smuggler.
I remember when I was in the first yard, and this was early '90s, right? And there was some fucking big drug.
The glory days of the federal.
So
prison.
I'm like in the yard. I'm like, what the hell are those? What are those lines and wires crossing the yard? They're for helicopters, right?
They're for helicopters. Yeah.
I'm like,
they're for helicopters.
That's the Wi-Fi lines.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
It's like,
how else are you gonna use your your video calls on your cell phone?
Well, hey, what was your job?
With a camcorder.
Yeah, well, I mean, I know you bounced around, so in some cases you didn't have enough time to get a job. But when you did have time to get a job, what was your job?
So I did have the coolest job at one point. Oh wait, hold on. Actually, my mom's calling me right now.
I wanted to have your mom on too because the share is in the future. My mother
in the future we'll do a double. We'll do a double.
Our mothers
thing.
went through hell worrying about us being killed. You know what I mean? So I appreciate what your mother went through.
Yeah, she's a warrior, dude. She's a warrior.
Really
I'm sorry, what were we talking about?
Job,
I lost my train of thought. So I had one of the coolest jobs in the BOP. That short amount of time that I was in Kentucky, I was a dog trainer and I trained service animals for veterans. Yes, for disabled veterans and autistic children. And I got to train 4 dogs.
Did you guys ever work with Unicor?
No.
I definitely said no to Unicor. Yeah. I am not working at a fucking sweatshop.
Here's a factory for 25 cents a day.
Well, that makes more than the other jobs.
12 cents a day, and if you owe restitution, it's 6 cents a day now.
So I when I was in Still, South Carolina, I had a pretty cool job. I taught pre-GED, not GED. I taught pre-GED. So I'm in South Carolina. And I would give them 10 spelling words a day, right? And I got a Southside Italian accent. And so these idiots would only get like 1 or 2 words right. And I give them real easy words. And they're like, God damn it, Yank. I can't understand your accent, man. So every time I'd read the 10 words off, I'd let a hillbilly.
Guys, I'll come back in a second. I do have to do Greg in a second.